What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dope and Tape Show. This is episode 183. I'm still here in Utah. We were out here for the AFSA board meetings. Man, we there was a lot of great topics. We talked about a lot of things as a group, collectively, and then this continued the discussions on a lot of them afterwards, after the meetings. I mean, it was good stuff. It was well worth being a part of this trip and these meetings, and I'm excited for the future. They do a really good job of like pumping you up and getting you excited about the industry and making some differences. So we're out there. I'm still at Utah. I wanted to see some customers. I wasn't planning on it. I was planning on going home with Bobby at the same time a couple days ago, but I saw all this construction. I was like, man, I gotta go talk to some people, see what's going on, So I wanted to go see some contractors and stuff and had a good time. Um,
There's a lot of
Tonight,
building in Utah, huh?
dude,
Dude,
I
is
had
there
no idea.
six cranes?
All the cranes, all the new roads, like
Just
they
where we
are
were staying in our one hotel, there was six cranes, like in this little mountain range. That's a lot, dude. That's like
so
that's like
fun.
city. That's like city worthy of cranes. Six sky cranes. You just don't see that like in the middle of the. I don't know. First time to Utah, it was very nice, very beautiful.
Yeah, I think they're on the Olympics is coming back in like 2032 or something like that, and that's kind of what they're getting ready for.
Okay, that makes sense.
Did you guys drive up around the Olympic Stadium when you were in?
No, I
The
didn't
old
even think
Olympic?
about it.
Like,
Yeah, it's
I
pretty
think
cool.
were we like staying there? I feel like we were looking at it. No, some of it. We had to have been looking at like one part of it.
I guess so. We were like in Deer Creek, wherever
They
that is.
were they were
City.
I don't know, they were jumping in the water and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
they showed us pictures. So the skiers would come down and jump like their big jump and do their tricks, and then they'll land in a pool, and then they have like air being pumped into the pool, so it's a super soft landing.
Yeah, it's got to be the same place.
Okay, so that
Yeah, it
was
was
cool.
really fun. Tommy, what up? Thank you for joining. Hit the like
I
button,
think one
Tommy.
of the I think one of the coolest things I saw was there was a certified dark night area on the other side of a mountain, and so it was very low light pollution in the area. And I was able to see the Milky Way. I never saw the Milky Way. That was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you get down to town, there's no lights.
I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. I mean, I live in Atlanta, so
It's all
Florencio, what up?
smog and heat.
hmm
Thanks for
yeah,
joining
even
us.
when I spent my summers on a farm, like there was still a lot of more light than what was there. I couldn't see that. So,
Episode 183 with Vince.
What's up?
How you been?
so
Good, buddy. Good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
thanks
thanks for
for
joining us.
yeah, and then also thank you for remembering.
Well, I'm out here in Salt Lake as well for NFPA committee meetings, and I kind of look at my schedule. If it's not on my schedule, I'll just forget shit. So I was looking through the schedule today, and I was buzzing Bobby. I'm like, "Hey, there's no link. I don't know. I need a link. I need it now."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll shoot it to you later." I'm like, "All
Yeah,
right."
Yeah.
yeah. I'm different. I found with Zoom. I mean, we started with. I never did Zoom until we had the show. And when I'm ready to go live, I send the link. But now, when someone usually schedules a Zoom, like they send the link, like you get the link like 2 weeks
Yeah.
in advance. That's just not
Right.
how Bobby does it. And I think I use the same. I think it's the same link and the same password every time. Honestly, like old people could just join in. If you have the link before, you could just
Nothing
like
wrong with
go back
that.
to it, click in. Well, I do have a waiting
Yeah.
room, so I'd probably
Yeah.
I'd probably let you in. Just
Someone
saying.
figured it out, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one time what did I put the link out on Instagram and like, dude, we had a lot of weird people joining, didn't we?
Oh yeah, dude. It was
It's like, I was just letting them all in. I took the waiting room out. There's like all of a sudden there's like 10 people on. We're like, whoa. One guy's like
like
laying on a
a
bed. I'm like, all right, let's shut this down.
shirtless guy in bed. I'm like, oh.
He's just smiling.
That's
Yeah.
just how they
So
live out there, buddy. They're
it
just free
rate
out there.
it rates the comments now. I have 50 XP. That's enough for a steady Eddie. Ship it. Send the steady Eddie. They they're rating our commenters now. I think that's because we're growing with YouTube. We might be on our way to monetization, and now it's telling you who's our number one commenter and who's our number two. And Tommy and Florencio are fighting over it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So Vincent, what's your story, man? How you get started? Because you're deep into it now.
I am, like many people, I fell into it, right? That's how most of us get in this industry. We have no idea that it's even an industry. I did a couple years in the Navy, and I was gunner's mate, so I worked on missile systems and stuff like that. So we had to maintain the missile magazine sprinkler systems, or basically deluge systems. And when I got out, I got a government job building specialty batteries for like the FBI and CIA and shit like that. It was kind of cool. Um, like we build batteries that go inside a belt for video cameras on belt buckles and all.
Oh, whoa.
And it was cool, but it just wound up being the same thing, different size, and I just got bored with it.
Yeah.
And my family's been in drywall as long as I can remember, and it's something I've always done. So I went back to doing that, and I was just looking for
Hard
something
work.
else. And so we were on a job. It was a hotel, like I think it was like they were called homestead suites or something
Yeah.
back then in like the late 90s or mid 90s.
I know what you're talking about.
So we were working on one of them in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and Virginia Sprinkler was on the job, and I was dating a woman who eventually became my wife and then my ex-wife. But I was dating her. We went to the Christmas dinner, so I was sitting at the Christmas. I was working for the drywall company, and we went to Virginia Sprinkler's Christmas dinner. So it was John McDonald. He was the CEO at the time, and Sid Rubin was the general manager for the Baltimore office, and they're two top salespeople. And they're like, "Hey, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I work for the drywall companies, back charging you guys 4 grand for ripping out my shit in the valve room." So they offered me a job.
That's
So
awesome, dude.
it started with like they asked if I knew about sprinklers. I said, look, I did some ITM, or I didn't even say that. I said did some testing because I didn't even know what ITM was back then. I just said we did some testing on them in the Navy, and so they offered me a job, and I started off and pulling parts out of the warehouse, doing deliveries
Yeah.
and things like that. And then, on weekends I needed extra money, so then I started, working and with those guys on the weekends on small jobs and installs or wherever they needed me. And I was all over the fucking place like the first 2 years. And they had me in the Springfield office for a while, I lived closer to Baltimore, and they had an office, but they didn't really have an inspection office. They had a guy that didn't really work out. They had like 4 or 5 inspections. I kept chomping at the bit to get in there, and finally they brought me up to Baltimore, and I kind of started their Baltimore inspection department from the ground up. And um, so it was like a one-man show. I was doing inspections, selling inspections, doing the repairs. Meanwhile, literally it was unqualified for most of what I was doing, but I was learning as I went.
Yeah.
Blew up a couple of panels, whatever. I did what I did, and I was always been a mechanical person, and a good. I had a lot of electronics training from being in the Navy, and so I just kind of put all that to use. And at the time, I was a little pissy about it that I had to go and do sales and do the repairs, and it just kind of built up, and just went from there, and eventually moved into management, and like I got my first nice set. Fuck, I think I started in 97. I got my first NICET, which was designed in 98 because they didn't have ITM NICET until 2001. So I started that, and then NICET was doing their beta testing for ITM. So I started that beta testing and got my level 3 in 2000 June of 2001, and it just kept going from there. So then I got my fire alarm NICET, special hazards NICET. So I got all that in just about a couple of months, and then just kept going, and always looking for that next thing. Actually, almost got out of the industry right before I started here. So I've been an NFSA for almost, I guess, about 7.5 years now, but I did 20 years on the contracting side prior to that.
Yeah.
And when I was in the management position, I freaking hated it. It was,
What was
not
it
into
that
code
you
books.
hated?
What's that?
What was it that you hated? The
I
paperwork?
wasn't into code books anymore. It wasn't about the industry anymore. It was about, solving everybody's problems, and don't get me wrong, like most problems are somewhat easy. I can deal with the customers that are angry. I can deal with getting the the parts. The parts are late. I can deal with all that. My issue was, um, who's coming to work today, who's not coming to work today. I literally had a guy that called out on one of the biggest inspection jobs I had that takes months to get scheduled.
Oh my
Called
God.
out. The next day he shows up, He says, "Hey, I need a pay raise. I bought a car yesterday and I can't afford it." I'm like, "Well, first of
Oh,
all, you call out on me on the biggest job where we got to get clearances and everything else,
yeah,
and then you do this." And that was kind of what it was like every day, right? Is who's coming to work because they broke their toenail. So I was done with it. I was like, I'm a code geek. So that's kind of where I hung my hat on all that shit. And then, just kind of managing and dealing with everybody else's headaches. Like, so when I got into that it was my second management job. And somebody told me at the first time it was, you kind of got to be a Dr. Phil. And I was like, all right, whatever, I can do that. And then, I was naive like most people in the field. It's, hey, everybody in management sucks. They don't know what they're doing. I can do a better job. And I got in there, I had no clue what I was doing. So it took me a few years to understand exactly what was going on. And that's again, I wasn't in the industry anymore. I was just, I was losing my taste for the industry. And then I stumbled upon this job and, it's a whole nother world now.
what was that application process and kind of like where you are now to get there?
Oh man, so I fell into this job. Um, so I was at Ferguson, how they have their luncheons for their contractors every year.
Right, right,
I was
right.
one of those, just showing up and seeing who's available, who wants to come to work, who needs another job kind of thing, like everybody does. And I was sitting at a table, and I remember it was Ron Hunt, it was Caleb Armbrust, and I forget who else was at that table. And we were just having a big conversation, and Caleb had said something about inspections or testing, and I'm like, yeah, and I don't remember what it was, but kind of disagreed with him, like that's probably not the way to go about it. He's like, oh, really? And he just shook his head, and we went on about our other conversations. And then a few weeks later, I get a email from him asking if I'd be interested in applying for this job. So I applied, and it was almost a year. I applied for the job in May of 2017 and didn't get hired on until March of 2018. It was like 5 or 6 interviews. I had to go through like all their engineering staff and some other people. I had to do a business plan. I had to put together a training session together. So it was pretty intense, but yeah, it was long for sure.
That's awesome though. That's awesome how it worked out.
It did, and like I'm way back into the industry again. I've always liked the industry, especially when I was in the field. I felt like I was doing something, and like I said, I kind of lost that way a little bit when I was in management. And now that I'm back here doing this, and it's like it's a whole nother side of the industry. It's amazing to see how it works from this side of the world. So I sit on, I got nice ed. I got a level. I've already talked about it kind of, but I got a level 2 in fire alarm. I got a level 2 in special hazards. I got a level 3 in ITM. I passed my level 2 for design, but I never actually got the certification. So I got a level 1. Just recently got a CFPS certification, a month or two
Oh,
ago.
that's sweet.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Did you
so
How
put it
is
on
it's,
your
preparing
LinkedIn
for
name?
that?
I think I did. I don't know.
Yeah, get it in there, dog.
How was the studying? How did you go about studying for it?
That's
So I
so
went through
huge.
NFPA. They got that study guide, if you will, and then you can do it in modules. You can do it in specific parts of the handbook, or the fire protection handbook. So I spent, I don't know, probably close to 2 months working on that once or twice a week, and just kind of listening. Like they got um, online, like just tutorials and stuff like that, and then you go through and actually take some of the test. And so I was doing that, and then I decided, all right, well, I'm either going to do this forever or I'm just going to go ahead and sign up for the test. So I signed up for the test, and fuck, I thought for sure I failed it.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It's definitely the hardest test I've ever taken. I know you hear that from a lot of people, but it was ridiculous. It
Wow.
was so like in the test, it's a 100 question test, and you got to take it in 3 hours, or you got to finish in 3 hours. So I'm looking every answer up, and I'm like, cool, this is going okay. And I look down, and I'm 2 hours into the test, and I'm only at question 51. I was like, I lost it then. I was like, oh fuck. So, and then on top of this, and I don't know if you all want to hear it or not, but I had to take a shit.
Oh,
So, you can't get up and go to the bathroom, right?
holy crap.
So,
I had that. on one
Damn.
night set, I think it was like night set my level two. I had to go pee, and I got up and went to go pee and come back. I was freaking out, dude. I was running.
I'm like
Whoa.
I'm sitting on the edge of the chair trying to hold it
Oh my
in.
gosh! It's like,
It
come on,
was,
get this through.
oh,
Well, the,
it was horrible.
Vince, would they
So
I
not?
didn't make some bad
Would they
decisions.
not?
They're trying to get it over
no,
with.
I didn't want to lose any more time.
Oh,
I
you
was
didn't want
like
to lose
literally
time,
like I
right?
had an hour left to do 50 questions.
Oh shit.
So then I
CFPS
got
is
down to like
something that
37 minutes left and I still had like 30 questions. And I stopped looking at the book at that point. I'm just, I'm like, fuck, I'm just taking my best guess. I got done and I had to go, right? So I had like 10 minutes left. I'm like, fuck it, it's the last question. I'm not even going to review it. I'm just going to submit it. And it came up and said passed. I said, oh shit. And I got up and ran out.
damn.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Fucking miserable.
Oh,
That's so
unfor.
CFPS is something that has been on my radar for a minute, and it's something I want to get into, but it's daunting. It's intimidating, you know?
Yeah, it is. And like from where I was in my world, like from the contracting side, if you're a fitter or designer, even ITM, it doesn't really, to me, it didn't make sense to go get it, but I didn't really know as much about it. To me, I thought it was more of like an engineering or maybe the fire service kind of thing or like public side of the world, from a
No, no, no.
jurisdictional
That's
standpoint.
the PhD of sprinklers right there, baby. Come on.
But and
Congratulations.
again, I just didn't really know. So I didn't have a lot of people to push me in those directions later in my career. Like early on, I know you guys had like Jeff Lewis on here. Like, I wouldn't be, he has a very large part of me being where I am. So when I started at Virginia Sprinkler, it was, I started there in 98. I worked there till, or 97, worked there till 2007. So like me getting my nice at three and all that was because of him. And I
I
learned a
I went
lot
to
from him and
VSC too. I
moved
love
on.
them. Great
Yeah, he's
company.
good people, really good people. So I had I think it was just a couple weeks before he was on. I had lunch with him. He was up in Baltimore, one of the AFSA meetings. So I had lunch with him, and he's just yeah, he's always I've always kept in contact. And a guy that I worked for, Sid Rubin, he's been retired for many years, but he was the general manager at Virginia Sprinkler in the Baltimore office, and he was my mentor. He just he gave me a lot of rope to hang myself, and just enough that when I was going to do something really stupid, he would draw me back in.
All right, all
So
right, all right. Come, slow
yeah,
down.
yeah, he was good for me. And then so then after I left that, I was kind of on my own, but I didn't even know about CFPS or nothing like that back then. And just until the last few years is something I really started looking into. It's actually a guy I work with, used to be a PG County fire marshal or firefighter, and then he was a Howard County fire marshal. Like I'll get it right eventually. But he and I started at NFSA about the same time. And he's like, you should really go after this. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. And, finally I just pulled my head out of my ass and went after it. So,
Good for you,
you
dude.
know,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
So, being
it's
in
cool.
Baltimore, have you ever heard of Don the Sprinkler Nerd?
No, I do not, have not.
That's we got a guy in Baltimore. He's an inspector. He's on Instagram every day. His name's Donald Carr, and he's
Oh,
on
yeah, yeah,
Insta.
I know Don. I didn't know he called himself the sprinkler nerd.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
know
So
Don. Right, yeah.
On Instagram, he's I'm pretty sure he's called this either the Sprinkler Nerd or Don the Sprinkler Nerd. But yeah,
Oh, that's funny.
Baltimore represent. He's we love him. Oh, he's here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just commented on one of his things on Facebook like 20 minutes before we got online here. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
That's
Do
awesome.
you know much about um the lithium battery situation and fire protection along with that?
I don't actually, because I don't think anybody does.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah,
right.
I don't.
It
Well,
doesn't go
my
out.
understanding is it doesn't work.
well,
Like,
it does. So, like we thought we would just put a whole lot more water on it, right? And that would solve
so
the
that's
problem.
kind of like what Reliable did with their new sprinkler head. It just
Yeah.
like dump.
And
Oh,
it doesn't. So you're never going to put that fire out, right? So
Oh, you can't.
mm.
it's
We
just
just gotta
stored
try a new
energy, right?
tactic. We need a new tactic, I think. We
Even
gotta
when
get
there's
the
no
water in there,
oxygen,
penetrate.
even
Maybe we should shoot it. Shoot the batteries as we spray them with water, right?
Well, how are you going to get to them, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
everybody's
true.
coming up with all this stuff you can do, like encase them and do all this other shit. To me, and this is just my opinion, I think there has to be something from the battery manufacturers that stops that energy, right? It has to break that chain somehow. So what's
Yeah.
happening is, you got the anode and the cathode inside of there with the electrolytes, and they're shorting out, if you will, is what's happening, and it
Right,
just
exactly.
creates that. And if you ever thrown lithium in the water, I mean, it's pretty volatile. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, those
So
vapes are terrible. They keep
yeah,
catching on
oh, it's
fire.
nuts. So when I worked for that battery facility, we built our own battery. We did everything. We did the cathodes, we did the anodes, we made our own electrolytes. So, I've seen all this happen, on a much smaller scale. But like, we would build, like I said, really small batteries, right? So, if they started to overheat or go into runaway, we'd just throw it in the antifreeze and it would stop it, into
Mm,
car antifreeze. Obviously, you can't necessarily do that with these batteries. Um, but what we're looking at now as an industry is maybe not putting more water on it, but putting the water on it for longer durations, right? So we kind of said, all right, so in garages, every garage now has to be an OH2. Was that the right thing to do? Depending on where the levels were, where is it a tiered, like, do you have stacked cars? You got to protect under the car if it's not an OH2. If it's OH2, then you don't have to protect under the car. It's all kind of stuff like that. But one of the conversations we had in one of the meetings, if you will, was instead of increasing the hazard, just put it on for a longer duration. And because all you're trying to do is contain it. That's all you're trying to do.
yeah, kind of smother, contain it before it goes into thermal runaway.
Yep. Well, it's already in thermal runaway at that point, right?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do. You can't stop that. All you're trying to do is keep it from spreading to the next 5 or 10 cars. So does that mean we change our spacing rules? Do we put one over every parking space? So this is all kind of the conversation that's going on, but there's nothing in writing yet. It's obviously there's lots of testing going on. Stuff like that. Like we do a lot of live burn tests. We're trying to get a hold of one of the electric cars and do some burn test with it, just see how it goes.
Where?
Um,
When?
can't really say.
Okay. I might. Well, let's talk after. I might be able to get us an electric car. I got a
That'd be
buddy who
awesome.
owns a junkyard, so I might be able to help in that part.
Oh, we were getting a brand new one, is
Oh,
what
well,
we're
I
looking
don't know if
for.
I
Oh,
could do that. Jeez,
boy, look
Almighty.
at that budget, huh?
Damn, holy shit. Can we drive it? Can we do some donuts first?
Yeah, it's cool. So we work with a lot of manufacturers and shit like we do a lot of burning in Tennessee. We have a sub office in just outside of Nashville. And when their houses are condemned out there, we just go out there and burn them down with the fire department. We set up like different scenarios, like we leave doors open to see like if bathrooms, we change some of the fixtures in the bathroom, like the bathtub, we take out the plastic and put something else and see if it changes how it burns and how fast it spreads and all kind of stuff like that. We burned down a supermarket. It was cool shit.
Damn, I
Dang.
wanna go.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, invite us next time,
I wanna go. Let's light some let's light some shit.
I'll put a
I've only
plane
been able to
ticket.
go to one myself.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
right. It's tight knit. All right, we gotta get in there. First step is
Then you
talking
just
about it.
hear about it.
Yeah, I look, so just so you know, I got my phone sitting in front of me so I can kind of see the comments and not to step on any of your toes, but I was just saw that somebody said ban electric cars. Dude, they're trying, man. It's crazy. So Maryland just passed a law that every home that goes up has to have an electric charger in it for a car. So it's
Ooh.
going the opposite way. So now
Yeah.
what they're trying to do is put sprinklers in garages and shit like that in 13R, or I'm sorry, 13D, which defeats the purpose of 13D systems, right? They're supposed to be cheap and economical, and here we are just fucking that up.
New builds in Massachusetts are requiring a 400 amp service.
It's crazy.
You can't put in a 200 amp service anymore in a new build because it wants to have that extra in
Right.
case you want to charge a car. What? That's
Yeah.
a big panel, dude, for a little
Yeah.
house.
Right.
What are you guys doing in there? Like 400 amp? I don't know, man. It's crazy to even think about.
Yeah, they keep pushing it. And then, like, I mean, I think there's a time. I don't think at this point that the electric car is going to take off like the country thought it would or the world would. I think what we're going to see next is hydrogen. I think that's going to be the next big thing.
I've done research on the boats. There's boats out there that run off hydrogen. They just run forever, no? Oh,
Oh,
it just did the thing.
well, I don't know about little boats. When I was in the Navy, we had nuclear
Big ones,
propulsion.
yeah. Yeah, big.
So,
Yeah,
but they would
I'm
run
talking
for
about
like 20
millionaire
years
boats.
without stopping.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even know if he still uses nuclear or not.
that's Donnie in the chats talking about banning the cars, the sprinkler nerd.
So
Yeah,
it's like
I hadn't
lithium
seen it. He called
energy.
himself the sprinkler. No, it's kind of funny. So
It's like
now I know who the nerd is.
so it's like lithium energy, the nuclear. So it just kind of creates its own.
No, it was a nuclear reactor.
Yeah,
Whoa,
nuclear. Yep.
It's
that
complete
sounds safe.
nuclear, and I don't know if they still use them. I've been out a long time. I've been out 30 years. So
Yeah, that's a long time.
a couple days. Um,
Yeah.
the um, all the aircraft carriers back in the day were nuclear. That way, because they never had to stop. They could just continue to go around the world and never have to stop.
So
I was on one ship that was got a missile cruiser that was nuclear propulsion, and we'd always run drills for nuclear meltdowns and all that shit. Excuse me, but
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Never
everything
having to
went to
stop.
turbine. What's that?
Never having to stop. Like just
No, yeah, it's crazy. You
woo.
could literally sail around the world, and never stop, as long as you have food. But
That's it.
they started shifting over to turbine steam, not steam turbine, but turbine engines in I guess about the early 90s, mid 90s maybe. So I don't even know if they went to nuclear or kept nuclear at all.
I've read there's a couple mega yachts out there that are running off nuclear power and they don't have to
No
stop.
shit.
It's
That's crazy. Yeah.
probably like Jeff Bezos or something.
No, there's too much shit to go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not into that. So
oh, wow. And
What up,
right now
Carlos?
you're mainly focusing on NFPA 25. Is that right?
yeah, 25 is my 90% of what I do is 25. So I travel probably 6, 7 months a year. 90% of that is just teaching classes, the 25 classes to honestly anybody who will listen. But a lot of what I do is for certification. So we'll do like a test prep class. So we got 2 and 3 day classes for that. And then, ideally they'll go and take their test right after that since it's fresh in their mind. But I do some fire pump stuff, some 13 stuff, some 72 stuff. Now I don't teach 72 through NFSA. It's just not what we do, but just from my background, I know a little bit of it. So, like, I'm here in Salt Lake this week because the 72 committee meetings for the 2027 edition. So, is what we call the first draft. So, everybody submits their suggested changes, and then we review them and then they'll go back out, and we'll either say yay or nay, or we'll make some changes to maybe the submission and accept it that way. And then so it'll go out for the second draft. So after several months, sometime around probably January or so, the second draft will open up. And then anybody can make suggested changes to things that were already introduced in the first draft and then we'll do a second draft meeting, and then we'll, say yay or nay to those changes, and then it kind of has a couple of steps from there before it actually gets into the standard, or if it makes it to the standard. But a lot of people, I ask this in my class all the time. How many people's ever said, the code sucks. What we say about the code sucks. It's wrong the way it's written. It should say this. It should say that. And I'm like, well, who makes the rules? And they're like, well, the committee does, and we don't. All we do is review what was submitted by the public. So, if you guys want to make changes to the standards, you're able to. You don't even have to be in this industry, and you can make suggested changes to that. And I was talking to Bobby kind of before the show started about a lot of the younger group here. You guys need to get involved. It's I'm one of the youngest people sitting on these committees, and I'm 52, right?
Yeah.
So we really need, you 30 somethings and 20 somethings to get involved in this to, before the old heads die out, because we have a lot of history of why things were done and how it was done. And I'm not saying it means that you have to do it that way, but it gives you some history to kind of make future changes.
It's nice to
So
see the path you're supposed to follow. I mean, Brian and I can see, you can see with your own eyes the tables that you're sitting at. It's and even at the expo, it's mostly, it's an older demographic of people that are going to these shows and that are involved with the industry. And
yeah,
I'm trying to get as involved as I can with Next Gen New England, Brian's Next Gen, Georgia. If anybody wants
Yeah.
to be involved, we just came back from AFSA committee meetings. We kind of have a little roadmap of what we're supposed to be doing with Next Gen, what Next Gen means, and you know, it's more than just saying next generation. Like if you want to get involved, it starts at your local chapter. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
DM us after and we'll help you.
Yeah, it's so that's the thing. I would say just, I don't know, I can't say this with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty confident that every single state has either an NFSA or an AFSA or both in their state. They also have AFAA, they have FSSA, right? So you got it for fire alarm, you got it for special hazards. It's out there. It's like this is, in my opinion, this is one of the few industries that you get out of it what you put into it. Like you can grow in this industry really easy, or you can just sit back. I was helping fitters put pumps in at 6 months in the industry. I had no real idea what I was doing, but I was learning. Again, mechanical person. Um, I found out pretty quickly I didn't want to hump 8-inch pipe all my life. There, just didn't want to do it. It wasn't for me. And I have no, I mean, I think it's great that if that's all people want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. You can make a freaking killing at it, right? But you can also make a killing at doing fire alarm install. You can make a killing at doing inspections. You can get into management. You can get into design. You can become an engineer, design the sprinklers. Like there's no limitation to this. You're only limited by your own desires.
And the cool thing is, if you change to another aspect, you can go back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah, you
lose
can
that
move.
skill on how to hang 8-inch. That sticks with you.
No.
That's something you never freaking forget, dude.
Because I went to sales, had some disagreements with my branch manager. I was like, screw it, give me a truck. I went back to inspector.
Uh,
Cool, no problem. He was like,
I
all right,
don't
you'll
know.
have one tomorrow.
I honestly don't know if I could go back out in the field and inspections. Like whatever company I went to work for, I would probably cost them every one of their customers just because of what I know about 25 now. Um,
You're
like,
writing up
so
everything.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Red
Like,
tag, close the doors. You guys aren't allowed
What
to
do
be
you
here
think
anymore.
is missed the most?
everything.
Wow.
Honestly, everything.
It's
So
got to be
it's,
50% of guys aren't even getting out of the truck, no?
well, there's a lot of pencil whipping for sure.
Maybe not
Here's
50%,
Especially
but
on
here's
it's up
five
it's
what
years,
I
I
up
think.
it's
think.
I
up
think
there.
that's
Honestly,
the
what I
most
think is
missing.
missed the most is training, right? We don't get the proper training in this industry
It costs money.
in any aspect of it, right? And it does cost money. And problem with that is, if I'm a company owner and I put 5 or 10 grand into somebody for training, next week they're going to leave and go to another company for a dime, and that's a big problem.
Yeah.
But we learn from somebody else. I call it, anybody that's been in my classes, I've said this and I say it all the time. I call it the Billy Bob theory, right? When we get in this industry, I don't care if you're a designer, if you're a fitter, if you're an inspector, they put us with somebody, and that's who we learn from. That's our Billy Bob, right?
Mhm.
Billy Bob's been in the industry for 500 years. They learn from their uncle's, cousin's, brother's daddy, right? At 3 o'clock in the morning, that's the person you want to call because they can tell you how to get that system back in service. But
Right.
Billy Bob's never opened a book. Billy Bob taught me, I taught the next person who taught the next person, and all we do is learn the wrong information. And that's honestly what it is. Like nobody opens a book unless they want to argue. Do you know how much shit is out there that people have no idea? Like, so let me ask you this. We'll ask the people in the group, if you will. Can you cite, in accordance with 25, a main drain or an inspector's test sign? Is that something you can cite? See what they say.
I say no.
You were absolutely right. You can't. I was waiting on somebody in the audience to see what they say.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, you could cite it, yes,
No,
but
you can't. It is
no.
nowhere in 25. Absolutely
See,
not.
I would put it in as a recommendation, but
Perfect,
then
but that's not
also,
citing. That's not a deficiency,
but
right?
some of the yes, exactly. So I would not cite them for it, and I've actually heard my dad chew out some of the inspectors that cited on it and called them up and chewed them. You can't do that. What are you doing? You
All
know.
right, so for the non-inspectors that are watching, what the fuck are you guys talking about? What do you mean cite?
All right, so
Uh,
let me ask you, let's ask the fitters.
You're writing it up? No,
yeah,
I'm being
right up.
honest. I don't
Yeah,
know what the fuck
essentially
you guys are
writing
talking.
it
Oh,
up.
you're
Yeah.
citing. Okay,
So you,
but what do you write? What's the problem?
so
They don't have it?
citing is a deficiency, right? A
Okay.
deficiency that falls in 25. So like it's a code violation where an observation is not. It's just something that should be there, something that should be
Oh, if
done.
they don't have the inspector's test. That was your question?
Yeah.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay,
But
I
sign,
missed it.
just talk about signs, right?
Oh,
So
just the sign.
most of the time, your inspectors will write up all these signs, but they miss other signs. So let's talk about, say, the general information sign. How many of you know what that is? Bobby, I'm going to ask you. You know what the general information sign is?
Say it again. I was reading comments.
General information sign.
And that's on the print or that goes with the
You tell me.
you got general information on your print. I guess in the main pump room you should have, the general information of the system and the layout of the system. It should be framed and hung on the wall.
Especially if it's dry.
So it is a separate. So the only signs that we can cite in NFPA 25 is a control valve, an information sign, or a general information sign. Not both, one or the other, depending on when it was installed. And we'll get to that in a minute. And then antifreeze sign. That's it. No other signs can be cited as a deficiency. So we always cite, or hydraulic data plate. I'm sorry, I missed that one. That's a
Yeah,
big one,
that's
right?
something I'm a
Yeah, that's a
stickler
big
on.
one. So we always cite that. We always cite stuff like the inspector's test sign is missing, the main drain sign is missing. But these big ones like the information and the general information, man, the general information. So I want to go on a little rant here about just doing inspections and knowing what we should do, right? So
Please.
the general information sign is super important. It is really it's really intended for warehouse application, storage applications, things like that, because it tells you row heights, or rack heights, I should say, the widths, the aisle widths, what's being stored, how it's being stored, how high it can be stored, the occupancy, all kind of great design information, right? But it also is supposed to have all the acceptance test information on it. That's where it comes into inspections. It's huge for us, right? So, and I go, this is a pet peeve for me kind of thing. Um, when you do a main drain test, what do you compare your results to? Let somebody see if anybody in the chat says has the right answer.
Come on, chat. Make us
I
proud,
got a
chat.
I got
little
an answer.
I don't have it with me, but if you get it right, I got a little spiral pocket guide for ITM I'll send you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on, Flo.
If there's no answers, I got an answer.
I'm gonna refresh and see how many people just went to Google. Oh, nobody.
I'm not looking at the comments, so before y'all say it, let me say my answer.
Doesn't look like anybody's answering it.
They're not answering.
All right, I'll go. So you compare it to the last 3 years, and I believe you see if it's a difference in 5%, I believe.
So it's a 10%.
Yeah, five
Um,
or 10. That's what I was
yeah,
thinking.
it's 10. It's a 10% residual. So when your drain is open, but you compare it to the previous and the original. Nobody ever goes to the original. That's
That's
the most
because
important thing.
it's not there.
How do you know? Did you ever ask for it? Right? So, and I say that because we don't. I was the same way when I was in the field. I never asked for it, right? Because I wasn't taught the right way. That's kind of where I'm going with all this.
Where
Yeah,
is it?
I
Wait,
always
where
looked
is
at
it?
huh?
Who, someone has it? Is it required to be hung somewhere?
Bobby Lincoln's, man, he can't answer. He's had my class. Fuck him.
Because the
No,
original.
I'm kidding, Bobby. I'm teasing. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, so everybody thinks that so 25 is really a comparison. Like whenever you flow something, a dry pipe, a main drain, a fire pump, a pre-action, well, double interlock pre-action, um, pressure reducing valves, you are required to compare everything to the original acceptance test. And you always have been. We just never do it because we just assume it's not there. So think of it this way. If I compare my main drain test, and I use this example a lot too. So if I compare my main drain test to the previous test and it's a 2% loss, who gives a shit, right? But if I have 2% loss over 10 years, now I got a 20% loss. Odds of
Right.
that system working the way it should is probably not going to happen. Now, if you got a good, not you, but if the owner has a good lawyer, you're losing that lawsuit because you didn't ask the owner, do you have the original acceptance test so I can compare it to? If they say no, fucking document it, right? Observation, couldn't compare it to the original acceptance test. Get out of jail free card. But if it's on that general information sign, it's right there in front of you. So that's why I was
General.
at. So the general information side, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, Bobby, not to be an
No,
ass
do
about it,
it.
but
Do it.
from the fitter side. So this is where I think things come down from the design to the install to the acceptance to the inspectors. So like the general information sign, does anybody know when the general information was actually required by NFPA 13?
Ooh, no, I don't know that one.
I don't know if we want to wait a few minutes. It's up to you guys.
When
I
is your
can wait.
class? I want to go take one.
Nah, they're not gonna answer. You got them all scared.
Yeah.
My bad. I can ask simple questions.
No, I like the hard ones. Keep them coming.
So,
I've never hung a
and
general information sign, so hit me with
well,
it.
and that's kind of where I'm going. How long? When's the last time you did an install? How long have you been doing installs?
A
uh,
long time. So it's like, you know, and it's the office that sends you the things. Hang these. You hang all your hydraulic placards, and I've always hung the print and a couple things in there. So I'm just wondering if the general information sign that's probably some in some owner's packet or what? Is it supposed to be hung somewhere?
No, it should be hung on the riser, on every riser.
Every
So
riser. Okay.
every riser. So a floor control assembly is considered a riser, right?
Yep.
So anywhere you have a hydraulic data plate, you should have a general information sign, and that's been since 2007. So 20 years almost, right? How
yeah.
many in the field has ever seen them?
I've seen it probably out
I've
of
seen
10
it
years of
twice.
inspections, probably, yeah, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So we didn't bring that in 25 until the 2014 edition. So the way 25 is um, in chapter 5 it says that it asks you for the general information sign or and then it asks you for the information sign. You don't need both. So anything prior to 2007, you can have either one of them, information or general information. Anything after 2007, it absolutely has to have a general information sign. It is a deficiency. But just think
Bang.
about the information on that. That
Noted
would help
down.
us as inspectors.
Start seeing some red tags out there. Come on.
And this is the kind of stuff like we just don't learn. And think about it. So the designers are the same way. They don't open a book unless they want to argue either, right? They're used, like when the code changes or the standard changes, they don't look for updates, so they don't know what's in there. They just continue doing their thing. It goes to plans review, it gets pushed through there. They don't look at it. You get out in the field, the fitters don't know about it. I mean, fitters, they learn a lot of what's in 13, but they only learn kind of the same thing like everybody else does. We learn what we're taught unless we want to, we get to maybe a discussion with a fire marshal, right? Then we go back and do a little research, but we're not looking for all this new shit that comes up. So it doesn't get put on, it doesn't get sent to the field. It doesn't get put on in the field. It gets accepted by the HJ without it. And then as inspectors, we don't even know it's required. So it just falls through the cracks. There's all kind of like there's signs for the FDC that are required. It's got to like if you got a manual standpipe, it has to tell you it's a manual standpipe. It has to tell you if it's wet or if it's dry. If it's a high rise, it has to tell you the pumping pressure. When do we ever look for that shit?
I've never
These
seen
are
the
just
pumping
little
pressure.
things, right?
Yeah.
And
Man.
dude, I could go through the next 3 days of stuff like this with 25. It's just
All
the
right,
little things.
what's your next best pet peeve after the signs? Come on, hit us.
Writing up shit that shouldn't be written up, things you can't cite or
Oh,
shouldn't,
Uh,
right?
okay. Give us an
So here's
example.
one of my favorites. How many, and we all, again, many people are do it. They'll cite say a 5 year or a 3 year that wasn't done, right? It's a deficiency. You have to do it. I agree that it has to be done, but it's not a deficiency in 25. So let me back up to that for a second. Not doing a required ITM in NFPA 25 is not a deficiency. The deficiency is defined as something that's broken, right? So that's what we're there to find out is, are the things that we are testing or inspecting broken, right? So um, we're not an enforcer. Um, we're just there to tell people what is wrong with the system itself, right? So we're not there to enforce it. So when you cite, say, a 5 year, let's go with a 5 year internal, pretty important inspection for sure, right? We don't tell them that they should do dailies, weeklies, monthlies, and quarterlies. Why don't we do that? What's the real answer?
Yeah, well, you're a contractor and you want to keep your customer. That's why.
Right. You want to keep your customer and you're not making money off of a monthly or a daily or a weekly, right?
No.
Your
And
money's
then,
in the big shit.
right, and then the only time, like for example, your authority having jurisdiction, local level is not requiring it. It's only if you are a government or Joint Commission or FM Global or something like that. But other than that, they're not requiring it. So then they're like, the customer's like, oh, well, you're asking me to do things that other contractors are not. I'm leaving you.
That's it. And that's the problem, right? So, but we are no more than service providers. We are only there to do what the customer asked us to do, right? So we're not enforcers. We can't make them do it. That is up to the HJ. But the HJ it's this vicious cycle, right? We have no, us as contractors have no relationship with the AHJ. Our relationship is with the owner, because the owner tells us the HJ showed up and says, go do an inspection. I only want to see an annual. And it's not that they don't want more than that, they just don't have the manpower. So the bottom line is that every NFPA standard is the minimum. The HJ doesn't have the authority to tell a building owner they can do less than what's in that standard.
Right.
411 specifically says the building owner is responsible to do everything in that book. They don't have a choice,
Mhm.
right? So where I was going with that was, so we got a 5 year, right? Internal inspection, internal assessment, technically, right? And then um, let's say we tell them they have to do that, but we don't tell them they have to do again daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. What's the number one reason for sprinkler system failure?
Not maintaining it.
Nope. So let's back up a second. Sprinkler systems are successful 96% of the time. That's fucking huge, right? 96% of the time. So out of that 4% that's left over, what's the number one reason?
I, I think water restriction.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, it's a closed control valve. Whether it was
Yeah.
closed before the fire or during the fire, it's a closed control valve. So 80% of that 4% is closed control valves. So if we tell a building owner to go do your 5 year, but we don't tell you to look at control valves, right? What's more important?
Yeah. Control valves, definitely.
Control valves are far more important, right? So when we tell the building owner to go do your 5 year, but we don't tell them to do their quarterly, we're now becoming consultants as an inspector. And it's not a deficiency. So let me phrase that. There are some states that do require, so they go above and beyond, right? So the law supersedes the code supersedes the standard, and we'll talk about all that in a minute. But if if the I lost my train of thought here. So if you tell them to do the 5 year and then the building catches on fire and burns to the ground and somebody dies, you're going to court and you're going to lose, right? You're outside of your scope of work. You're outside of what you were hired to do. You were hired to inspect and test that system as it's installed. That's it. You're not an enforcer. So that's probably my biggest pet peeve. Like I had, and I don't know if the guy's on here, and if he is, he is. I don't really give a shit. But those Facebook forums kind of get a little stupid in there. There was one, and I had wrote a blog, I don't know, 2 months ago maybe, and it was, basically what we're talking about. If it's not in the book, then don't cite it. If it's not in that table at the back of the book, and the one guy, so we got into a conversation. There were some good comments, but there's one guy in there said, just go to the HJ. They will tell you what they want you to cite. And I'm like, what the fuck? How can you even be in this industry and say that?
It
So,
says it in the
that
book.
that's
Go to
that's
the
one of my
book.
peeves, right?
They will tell you what to, that's awesome.
Isn't that dumb?
So I don't know if you know, but we have a Discord. So I hate saying this, but it's a safe place. Like there's no jerks in there. We had one that was kind of a jerk. We just kicked him out. We don't say, "Oh, will you be nice?" or anything. You're just freaking out. But it's active every day and people are showing what they're doing, their work, they're asking questions. It's a blast and everybody's friendly. No dumb questions.
Yep.
There's no
And
dumb
that's
questions.
kind of that's another thing, like not in here, but like on these forums, man, somebody asks a legit question and people just, man, they shit on them. It's
Destroy.
terrible.
Yeah, you
Destroy.
you can ask a question. You could be the silly dumb apprentice that's in one weekend and ask a silly question, and you might get like some friendly picking on, but you'll get multiple good answers as well.
Yeah. And so I, when so the last couple of I don't know, probably last year. Thursday nights is a bad night for me, so I haven't been on your listening to the show a whole lot. I'll kind of listen to it after. Like the other day, I just listened to one you had a couple weeks ago with what's the girl's name? The health girl.
Oh,
Casey.
Casey.
Yeah, so that was really good. I liked it. But so at anyhow, I let me plug in my computer before I lose you guys. Sorry. I
It's
didn't
okay.
realize my battery was dying. Um, uh, so I was on Discord and I haven't logged into it and I don't know how long. So I'll get back on there and kind of look into it again. That'd be cool. I like I personally just enjoy teaching people, right? And then
Yeah,
I get passionate. Some people take that as aggressive maybe. Um, but
that's good
when
though. That's how. That's the best way I take in information.
Yeah, right?
I could blame my dad for that.
Yeah.
it's just some of it kind of I mean it's like you get people that I've had a couple again in some of these forums that they'll just fight me about it. I'm like, all right, great. Go ask NFPA, see what they tell you. And they're like, I don't have to do it because I know the rules. I'm like, all right, well, fuck you. I sit on the committees, I make the
Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I love that one. That's a good
That's a
one.
good line.
That is
Hey, what
good.
did you think about the health thing and trying to get the fire protection industry healthier?
I love it. I love it, so going back to like when I was in the field, man, it was kind of the same as everybody else. I actually bought, for a while actually. So when I first got in the industry, like I wasn't making shit. I was poor as fuck. So I was eating, like you said, hot dogs and shit every day, or whatever I could do. And then um, I wound up buying almost like it was a heater and a cooler that I could sit in my van and plug it in.
Oh
And I
wow.
could take
Oh,
like food in the morning, like leftovers, and plug it in, and it would heat them up by lunch. But yeah, I was on the road all the time. I was always, when I was in the field, my hours of getting up in the morning was anywhere from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. I was in that DC, Northern Virginia area. If you didn't get to where you were going by 5:30, 6 o'clock, you were in traffic for 2 hours. And then, same thing getting out of there. So I wouldn't get home till 6, 7 o'clock at night and, just eating like shit and, drinking lots of alcohol and, just like every other, field person out there. But I think I love the idea of it, and it's an individual's. I don't want to say responsibility, but if they want to, if they want that help and they want to follow it and they really do want to get healthy, it's out there. People like I'm sorry, I lost her name again. I want to say
Casey.
Casey
Casey,
from
yeah.
yeah, from last week. I mean, go follow them, go talk to them. No, they want to help you. I can tell you when I was 25, 30 years old in the industry, I was going to live forever. I didn't give a shit. And, things are a little different now.
Oh yeah.
It's,
Yep.
my health is starting to crumble. So, and I regret a lot of my 20s and 30s of not paying attention to people who was trying to help me with that.
yeah.
It's taken its toll for sure.
Yeah, there's help out there, and and the trades are becoming healthy. They're becoming healthier, I think. There's a sense of, it's on people's mind.
It is for sure. And I think that's just, a lot of it has to do with social media. And a lot of it just has to do with just the way we live. And you're right. Things are more available, right? Back in the day, uh, I heard you say going into the blue sauna and running over the McDonald's and shit. Like that's just how it was. There was just nothing around, right?
Yeah.
You just had to get what you could get.
Yeah.
So it was definitely different back then.
There's options now. You don't have to be unhealthy, and that's what Brian and I talk about a lot, like hard-boiled eggs. You can almost go in anywhere now and just get a couple hard-boiled eggs. Like
Yeah.
that's better
Yeah.
than getting the Reese's or the Doritos or whatever. Just pop down a couple hard-boiled eggs.
I keep
I,
tahini in my truck for them.
Tahine.
Yeah. I'll just sprinkle a little bit of that on there.
Diabetes.
I got a couple big old bottles at the house.
Love it.
You gotta have a little. You
So,
gotta have a little something.
Sometimes it goes on the side of the rim for a margarita, but usually it's just in my truck for
I would
food.
I would say for me, one of the other things too with health was like I didn't really know nutrition. I didn't look into it. I had no idea. So I've been dealing with gout for 30 years. I always thought that it was certain foods that I ate, and then about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I found out I had diabetes. So I started working out, started eating the right way, I haven't had a gout flare up since. I've lost like 30 pounds,
Wow.
Good for you.
So I'm starting to slip off of that trail a little bit. So I got to get back to it. But it was just the foods I was eating and like understanding nutrition a little bit better. Not a little bit, a whole lot. Like I said, I had no idea what nutrition was, right? So it's just things like that. I think the more you can learn about that, like health is 80% nutrition and 20% exercise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's
I
true.
completely agree with
You got to
that.
get out there and move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just got to eat right. Like if
Yeah,
you only exercise a little bit, it's mostly about eating right. But
it's true. Stay away from the
here I
fast
am,
food. Drink
late in
some
my
water.
life figuring this shit out.
Well, I think this
I
was a
see.
great episode.
Yeah, Vincent, holy crap, dude.
Yeah, I
Thanks for
had
coming
fun.
on.
Thank you guys. This was
Yeah,
awesome.
we had good. The chat was doing good,
So
communicating
I
with us
saw
and,
that
and
Florencio had
participating.
a couple answers on there the right way. Um, Send me his address if you'll give it to you and send it to me. I'll send him one of those style pocket guides.
Okay,
Flow is awesome.
we got his address. I think we should.
That'd be
Florencio,
cool.
text me your address, Florencio, so I don't screw this up. Yeah, Florencio. I get a lot of questions about Spotify, so let's just talk about it. I'd rather you guys watch on YouTube. I understand it's easier to watch on Spotify. You don't, they don't call it like you're being a Spotifyer. We're trying to be YouTubers here, okay? I mean, like, watch us on YouTube. So I update to Spotify like later, and people are always asking, where is it? Why isn't the episode available? Well, I'd rather you watch on YouTube. And so Ferencio's been killing it with the descriptions. To download and upload and do all the things and write the description as well. It was taking me quite some time per episode. So Ferencio writes our descriptions now, and
Oh, that's cool.
he's getting good at them as we were going on. I think I'm ready for some though, Florencio. So I brought it up. Vince, we will live forever. We're sprinkler men.
I used to think the same thing, believe me.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, everybody that's watching us, you're watching us live. We really appreciate you. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Spread the word. Talk about us on the job site tomorrow. Dope and Tape. Tell them to subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We're trying to get monetized. It's hard. We're in a podcasting is hard on YouTube, and we're in a little niche industry, if you would. So all the help that we can get, we appreciate you guys. Vince, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
gentlemen. You guys enjoy.
Chat, thank